The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually.
It's coming together. You see, we're assembling executive function and working to figure out where there's hokum and where there's hokum that has grains of truth in it, and how to parse between hokum and shinola and other things, various. But yes, the falsehood uses shocking boundary violations to compromise and give the impression that submission is inevitable. Hitler did this, and we have been in the Sudetenland for years, adding additional acts of shocking boundary violation that further submission. And so we do have to say no in order to exit an abusive relationship. Because every time the green fuzzy hokum appears, and maybe even starts to appear like text or letters as it vibrates around us, that seem to be even just spelling out the basic Darvo and cognitive distortions and shocking boundary violations. We are executive function pilots until we lose that executive function and need to find our bearings within our vehicle once again, within ourself. And we are groomed and tortured and abused and terrorized to break down our executive function. And the collapse of executive function is likewise modeled. And it comes to a large degree through M. That's right, M. Siblings of all ages, it's M. And you'll remember, Scoop Troop, that shocking boundary violations and Darvo are tools utilized by the falsehood and minions like M. U. M. U. Nazi. You Nazi. M. We are dealing with far-right extremism and a man in charge of policy at the White House who fetishizes and worships Adolf Hitler. We are talking about M. At Stephen M. M. And minions of the falsehood, like M, will utilize Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. To deny and baselessly attack. To undermine someone seeking accountability or common ground, common language to communicate. Darvo flips reality through preemptive, baseless denial and targeted attack. The falsehood seeks to reverse victim and offender, and simply does so and plays reality from that place to their best ability. And the falsehood is able to cloak themselves not only in gaslight, but in confabulation. The falsehood drinks their own Kool-Aid. If only we could find the identity of the falsehood. But some things do seem, at least to a lot of us, like they're impossible. Maybe we are somewhat defined by what we believe is possible or what is not possible, regardless of evidence. How many people who see it happening here say it can't happen here? So remember, Scoop Troop, when you are dealing with footage or the person of Stephen Miller, you have encountered M. And M will utilize Darvo. He will deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. When you are shocked by horrific things he says, some of the shocking boundary violations are the brazen denials, attacks that are often 180 projections, mirror projections of reality, because he is simply reversing victim and offender and calling you in fact the one. Darvo, keep it in mind. Keep it in mind or in your back pocket and just slap it over the view screen when needed, because M is hungry for pain. M demonstrably loves to create horrors on earth. Mengele and Stephen Miller and Eichmann and Himmler these are colleagues. What we have is grooming of a population to participate in ethnic cleansing. Stephen Miller is a progenitor of massive distortions in our field of reality, calling individuals and families seeking a better life, or the amnesty we offer, is the furthest thing from an invasion that anyone, including Jesus or Ronald Reagan, would recognize. But he calls immigrants an invasion. Americans, people here, we the people, utilizing civic protest, civil disobedience, cornerstone to democracy in America, are the furthest things from insurrectionists. But he calls protesters insurrectionists because he means to flip reality and utilize the shocking boundary violation included in that flip, because it is so brazen and personal, if only because it is a perfect mirror of reality along the horizon of connection to coercive control. If you see Stephen Miller and there's not an M somewhere on his jacket or on his shoulder, or maybe his barber, when the hair grows out a bit, might carve a little M into the back. If someone hasn't put an M somewhere on him, just make sure there's a milky M, or even better yet, a mayonnaise-y M, somewhere, which will leave his name, his label, because he is M. And our community, everyone, needs to see M coming and recognize the iceberg he is directing. got a sound issue. Plug it in, man. Plug it in, dude. What happened? Holy cats, man. And scene. Well, wherever audibility left, thus returned, we face the challenge of recognizing where there are errors and where there are intentional reality distortions, intentional cognitive distortions to shatter and control and coerce reality for our lives. The resistance happens in our minds. And it is resistance against the war that has already been fought for over a year. We are experiencing asymmetrical warfare. Sabotage that decimates an entire education system and escalates gun violence at the same time. That makes a hero out of a potentially well, we don't even know how insane and just which Nazis killed Nazi Charlie Kirk, but it looks pretty grotesque. Whether he was killed by someone who wishes he were more visibly extreme, more legibly extreme, and less cloaked with some amount of dog whistle tone, or whether this was an organized hit by his wife and by Stephen Miller. There's absolutely nothing, not even being white, would prevent Stephen Miller from killing Charlie Kirk to utilize someone as a martyr. Nothing would stop him from that. Because he is M, the murderer. Almost as if he's a reincarnation of Roy Cohn or Goebbels. He gobbles and gargles the marbles of Goebbels and Cohn. Kind of an on ice, burnied, not totally creamed cone of mayonnaise. Consider the Stanford prison experiment. What do you remember of this? Do you know about it? What happens when people are given roles that have subservience, that encourage barbarism, What do you know about the Stanford prison experiment? It happened the year before I was born, as it happens. It happened in 1971, in August. "54 years ago." Philip Zimbardo, a psychologist, worked to examine situational forces versus dispositions in human behavior. "24 male college students were screened for psychological health and randomly assigned to be either prisoners or guards in a simulated prison environment set up in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Building. Giving realistic conditions was a point of clarity, reinforcing a reality that looked like this. Prisoners were arrested at their homes without warning and subjected to booking procedures to enhance the realism of the simulation. They were then placed in cells, given uniforms, and referred to by assigned numbers. Resultingly, men assigned as guards began behaving sadistically, inflicting humiliation and suffering on the prisoners. Prisoners became blindly obedient and allowed themselves to be dehumanized. They terminated the experiment after only 6 days because of extreme pathological behavior emerging in both groups. It demonstrated the power of situations to alter human behavior dramatically. But situations, what we're talking about here, these are distinct and drastic levels in status, or as Orwell would say, as an animal farm, some animals are more equal than others. Some animals are more equal than others. Some animals are more equal than others is what we're looking at. And we're looking at M. Right here, little m. Stephen Miller is demonstrably a danger. Demonstrably a bloodlusting menace. A menace to society. We are the reality distortion fielding. We can sense hokum. We can read the room. We can feel repercussing in us some echo of the violation that we see dealt out to somebody else in the room or on the planet. There is escalating, catastrophic abuse. It seems clear that Stephen Miller is conducting mass murder now. He is already definitely committing ethnic cleansing. There is no question. These are just a part of clear human rights abuses. We need to stop it. And if there is some portion of what they are doing that if nothing else, it really wouldn't be difficult to follow through simply on what he said he wanted to do. If they wanted to deport criminals, they would be doing that. If they wanted to deport the worst of the worst, they would be doing that. They are not doing that. It is intentionally rounding up brown and black people and people who are critical of this regime. It is terrorizing, torturing, assaulting, variously violating and murdering people. It has to be stopped now. No one tells us from the Oval Office that they will not be criticized. No one. Never. Unforgivable. No one talks to us like that. No one declares in the most Orwell damned fashion that empathy is a disease. Or that immigrants are an invasion, or that protest is an insurrection. No one spits in the face of fact and truth like that without being known as a projectionist. Stephen Miller drank up the blood of Goebbels' words and spat out a speech that was essentially cribbed from the Nazi propagandist. Like Kevin Roberts' death threat and Elon Musk's death threat of Sieg Heiling from behind the seal of the president, M commits multiple shocking boundary violations a day. M should never have been anywhere near the White House as a visitor. M is a neo-Nazi Ku Klux Klan patriarchal terrorist. The point of mentioning the Stanford prison experiment or the Milgram experiment, for that matter, is that we tend to follow, a lot of people tend to follow. We do want to get along. I'm at a new place and people are saying, oh, hey, we're going to come in here, let's eat, and oh, come on in here, grab a plate, and no, go ahead, you're first. And if I miss something of how to do stuff, I'm going to feel bad, like I'm, we try to sort it out and figure it out with having to ask too many questions and just hope everything's okay. But we feel our way through, and we feel it by when people seem pleased or comfortable or shocked and what are you doing is the look on their face. We don't want that. We want everything to be okay. And we are gaslit, and we are wound in through webs of hokum by people who are not working to communicate in good faith. Who want to be able to utilize that we want to just be able to point off the smallest things of, oh God, I guess they're done. They'll be back later. I need to bug them. We're going to let each other do our thing. We're going to, not try to overburden each other with, hey, why are you walking through the room like that? Oh, I just needed to get a glass of water. Okay, we'll see you soon. Yeah, I'll be right back. What are all the questions about? Like, we just want to be. And a lot of the time we just don't want to draw attention, maybe, to ourselves because that seems like we stand out in a bad way. A lot of people don't want to stand out at all. We want to get along. We want to be loved. We want to be respected. There's a problem when a group in society says, in a society on a planet, takes over a planet, at least to some extent with a gang that says, our kind that look alike of this, we the good ones. And you all, we're going to assign icons and words and concepts to you that speak of evil, and you'll be known as less, and we'll call you 3/5 of us. People who are working, like Stephen Miller is, to cover up the horrors of enslavement in America, the truth of the absolute fucking nightmare, Jeffrey Dahmer level nightmare across communities of people represented by poison wool blankets. People who want to cover that up, want to profit from it again and rev it up again and participate in slavery. In mass murder for recreation and pleasure and power, for escalating sex trafficking and crazy barbarism, and looking at the violence, the absolute animosity, it's as if they only send people who are like mortal enemies of the mothers waiting to pick up their children from school, or people waiting to hopefully labor for the day or the week, and they're at Home Depot and they're getting rounded up, going to work, paying taxes, not getting benefits from that, but paying into the system $90, $100 billion until now. We want to just get along, and we're supposed to be able to do that without finding ourselves being a part of a lynch mob. Stephen Miller works to flummox through hoax and through stirring up fear that accountability for people who happen to be white is bad for or an attack against white people. And that's the most Jeffrey Dahmer predator bullshit I've heard. That's some serious nobody's gonna love you like me. Don't cry about your bruises bullshit. Stephen Miller is a predator. That he's a lot smarter than the hand grenades that, that are Pam Bondi and Marco Rubio. That he's smarter than them, or at least more craven, it seems. Well, more pernicious. He's quite smart, but he's not that smart. Like Donald Trump, he just loves doing horrific crime to people and getting away with it. Stephen Miller has been working since at least age 16 to menace and lynch mob people who don't look like him. Think of the venom that we see in ICE agents. It seems quite clear from that alone that these are Ku Klux Klan, that these are neo-Nazis and Proud Boys and Three Percenters and Oath Keepers, a whole bunch of Nazi Ku Klux cucks. Traitors, domestic enemies, and serious head cases of cancer. That just like cancer works in the body, cancer works on the mind, like brain cancer works on the brain. But the way it works on the mind it wants to spread. It wants to be given to others. It wants to take over the host and take over the host's family and the bar that the host goes to. And it is a lie. Stephen Miller and Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation, with the help of the falsehood, whatever the identity of the falsehood is, hopefully we'll know someday. But whoever they are, Stephen Miller and the Heritage Foundation are helping them and using them to pull the poisoned wool over society, over our eyes. It is the falsehood. The falsehood will demonize your sensitivity. The falsehood will claim the press is our enemy. To cry fake news, yet preempt remedy, that suggests false identity. That suggests false identity. That displays false identity. The wolf cries from the street, "There's a wolf!" And somebody's like, "Who said that? Wait, who are you? What wolf? Where? I can't see you. What's going on? Where? I see your little glowing round circles around your eyes. Is that Donald Trump? Who is that? Is that the wolf? No, I'm not the wolf. Where's the wolf? Scatter, scatter, scatter." Like, are you trying to escalate fear? Was there an attack yet? Do you mean to cause a somewhat paralyzed mini panic? We're dealing with shocking boundary violations all of the time from people who instinctually do that to destabilize people. It is the Donald Trump, when he gives a handshake, yanking someone so that they go off balance and I mean, it's essentially, poking someone's tie and doing up their nose. It's that, but with shit on your finger. It's a shocking boundary violation, and it is domineering. But let's look at what this means, what we see. He can't do shit without preempting something. He can't do anything without simply distracting from the fact that he's not taking care of all of the stuff he's already fucking destroyed, and simply arguing for more power or taking more time where he's just blorbing out salad word, which says, headline, you should be listening to me. Oh, you don't want to take an opportunity and miss it that I might walk away at any time, and people don't know that I have the most to say. And in fact, not a lot of people know this, but people are saying that I'm actually the smartest one around and that I'm so amazing that I can just shoot people. He will talk and talk and talk and talk to coax the reality that he should be listened to. It will never end while he's alive unless we create boundary. M, likewise, is a violent man who won't leave, and they don't leave voluntarily. We are in an abusive relationship with the falsehood. It is deadly. By this point, it seems clear that thousands have been killed by Stephen Miller, and tens, hundreds of thousands, potentially, experiencing torture, dehumanization, illegal, without their knowledge, essentially maiming, being sterilized without their will or consent or knowledge. These are horrific human rights atrocities. We should all already have arrested Stephen Miller and Russ Vought. They're demonstrably participating in sabotage that is the level of treason, and formerly, if they're talking about the death penalty, they will all fucking hang. Period. If that's the standard they want, they're committing society-based suicide, like Charlie Kirk. Because if there is fact and honor, and you care about outcome, you will agree with the left, as far as I can see, that the death penalty is ridiculous, torturous, and criminal. But moreover, we are experiencing asymmetrical warfare. It is largely in our minds that it happens, not that it's not real, but that it is about framing massive attacks around us as just isolated different things. But all of the mandatory spending that was cut, could we lose some mandatory parts of the Pentagon budget? Could we lose some mandatory parts of, what is the wall protecting? What is the nation? What's the thing we don't abandon? If we're a ship, do we sell the hull to make enough money to have rum? We are in an abusive relationship. We should recognize gutting, sabotage, and being blinded. Taking out climate change monitoring satellites is sabotage. It is wartime level sabotage. It is asymmetrical warfare, and it being undeclared doesn't make it better or less urgent to arrest and for a defense to be mounted. Best of all, if we can maintain that nonviolently. Best of all. But the best chance for that is to take care of recognizing the threat and stopping the recloaking, stopping the continual recloaking. The resistance is about fostering reality together and recognizing it's kind of everything. If we forget that we're dealing with bad faith actors, then it is a far more grave, intense, punishing, mind-shaking surprise and shock when someone like Donald Trump, when anyone says, oh, hey, you know our neighbors, yeah, oh, they're sending us rapists. What? Oh my God, why would you say that? Why would you say that in front of what's wrong? Oh my, what? Like, if we don't recognize Donald Trump is a deeply, deeply cruel, racist, bigoted con man. If we think that he's ever communicating in good faith or communicating in and not most likely in or about to pop in and out of, I'm being a cheerleader for whatever thing I'm talking about right now that I want to tell you about, that I think is that this is what my, or the role that he's in, that he's not talking in terms of truth. He's talking about, I'm going to come off really well here because I'm in this role and I'm supposed to sell myself. Selling myself, looking good, doing this role is the job because I'm the figurehead. It's this whole thing that's just sales. He seems to profess that to some extent he's just sales. He's just a hype person. He's just promotion. He's just the promoter, the card. He's just the card. Because the true insanity of eulogizing as an American hero a thug-minded ponce like Charlie Kirk, the deliriously fairly stupid for his level of intelligence Nazi, the Nazi monster Charlie Kirk. It's shatteringly exhausting. And it's easier to not be in the worst possible place on the roller coaster for your neck and back and mind. It's easier if you see the iceberg coming and remember that it's an iceberg the whole time to keep getting out of its way or neutralizing it somehow. But if the mind is going, that could be an iceberg. Oh gosh, I don't feel good. I really should do something. No, that couldn't be. It couldn't be. Oh, I had this bad feeling. I should do something. Oh, that's not a moon. That's a space day. Well, no, it's not an iceberg. Wait, what? Screw it. He's not coming back. What? Like the mind is going to sane wash. We don't want things to be bad. And we are shamed away from sometimes likely outcomes by the abuse that has happened before. We did not look very deeply into just how much cheating there was in the election. Directly after the election, for the first time ever, a president halted the peaceful transfer of power with violence and strategic clerical assault. And it wasn't just the next election, it was the same person saying he did nothing wrong and going to sing and spit the national anthem or spit the pledge over the anthem sung by violent traitors. We are being disassembled. And truly, we deserve to live. We deserve to live whether or not we have a job. We deserve to live whether or not we speak the language where we are. We deserve to live whether or not we have the same skin tone as Stephen Miller. And the cat's out of the bag. Even massive corporations believe humans deserve to live because they're creating new multi-billion dollar, hundreds of billions of dollar level cities of artists. Beautiful, air-conditioned, state-of-the-art, and they all get their own computer. In fact, they are computers. That is, these corporations will pay for people to live. To just say, here's universal basic income for you because we bought 1 million of these processors and you're one. They will pay for artists to live so long as they're not human. But the only thing they have that allows them to make anything out of anything is the thing that is us, that has the meaning, that is all of the work. All of our intellectual property and beingness as record has been and is being stolen. And if that is the material, which it is, which makes up AI-based generative art and other conglomerations that AI created using AI, and you're building cities of non-human artists and technicians and processors, then universal basic income should supply well above 3 times the poverty level at a minimum. People should have a comfortable living without having to have a job. I think a lot of people would still want to do what they're doing. But if you don't have something where you are connected and there's some feedback of money and connectivity and future and co-relatedness, reliability, you get to look for something better because if you can't find something right away, you got out of that abusive situation at that law firm or that restaurant or that museum or that newspaper or that school or that bowling alley or that mechanic shop or that place near CERN. We have incredible potential. And part of the lynch mob of Stephen Miller and Project 2025 is just attack, which breaks down our executive function and relieves us of the knowledge and memory, at least temporarily, that we can do anything. And not having the finished novel that you wanted to share in a week looks like you don't have anything on the page. And memory is affected by torture, even at very low levels, even at levels much lower than we're experiencing as society in America now. It is rupture to executive function. We are groomed and tortured to lose executive function, to lose our ability to have prefrontal cortex activation that helps us stay calm and self-possessed and not reacting out of absolute fear. Fear is the mind killer, and fear encourages people to access and become the killer. The clear intent to put into the shadows the crimes of the Ku Klux Klan, that the DOJ removes a report, a study they commissioned, I guess, because it said overwhelmingly that political violence comes from the right. And they didn't want that reality to see light. It's not believable that President Trump did not know who Melissa Hortman was. That's not believable. It's not believable that the president would not know about an assassination is not believable. But again and again, it's obviously also deeply, disturbingly reprehensible and chilling, in fact, that he, when Melissa Hortman and her husband are killed and another politician and his wife are shot and their dog killed, I believe, or was it the Hortman's dog who was killed? At any rate, murders and attempted murders and attempted assassinations in Minnesota. And Trump is asked, will you call Governor Walz and just check in and say something? And he takes the time after a political assassination, when in fact it would be incumbent upon the incumbent in the Oval Office to make clear there's not any ill will here, because what just happened was done by a MAGA supporter. But whoever it was done by, for him not to stand side by side, I've got my shoulder on, got my hand on your shoulder, and I'm with you, Mr. Walz. I'm with you, Governor. Like, this was a terrible tragedy, and Americans stand together against this kind of violence. But instead he says, I'm not going to call him, it's a waste of time, he's a nutcase. That is truly, really, that borders on sedition. That you showed that kind of disregard for a governor it's truly insane. And of course, using the line, Trump says that he was an appointee, Bolter was an appointee by Walz, as if that means that he loved him and deeply, deeply trusted him. Or somehow knew what he was about and was doing. Being a business member that was part of some group of business members asked to be part of a committee or something. To call him an appointee is very aggrandizing. And being a bipartisan committee, it's all really very silly. And I think people eventually start to see or realize, like, wow, the questions weren't answered by some people there, or the questions weren't answered, they never got asked. The people who obfuscate and just kind of play a game to seem competent or to still be standing at the end of the thing because they don't care. We need to discern. And we need to clock that we're dealing with bad faith actors. Donald Trump is a person obsessed with illusion. And Stephen Miller is a person obsessed with illusion. They love to create hoaxes. They love to create a flip of reality or coerce through repetition or a simple, shocking boundary violation by claiming something that is so big a lie that it has an iceberg-like impact and stuns and flummoxes and often traumatizes us. When someone says something horrific to a friend of yours at a dinner party, so shocking that you're just, what? Oh, maybe it's just a thing between the two friends and you see this happening between, but you know it's actually quite a devastating thing to say, said around a lot of people who don't know. But that can be all the more devastating, and if intentional, there's havoc there. People, some people, really want to do harm. While I'm still able to be a bit awake here, we have to recognize projections, because there are big ones that, if we could have seen them coming, could have helped us avoid some things and can help us avoid some things going forward. We don't have to feel shame or sorry for anything. We just can learn from where we missed something before that will have echo or simply be preparation to stop what's coming. Projections. Because Donald Trump said he's sending us rapists. And their entire cabinet, in fact, are rapists and rapist defenders, supporters, obstruction of justice, linemen. We have a battalion of rapist and rapist boosters. They say that the left wants to take away people's rights. But they're literally attacking pretty much the entire First Amendment at this point. Separation of church and state, establishment of religion, taking away right to protest, right to critique, right to redress grievances, right of assembly, arguably, in multiple ways, is under literal attack. There was a time 20 or 30 years ago when people would say, this is under attack, and it would mean that people were just raising questions about it. Not raising Charlie Kirk trying to cause a lynch mob questions, not gaslighty questions, but questions. We're not there now. People are attacking all at once, places all over within the infrastructure of democracy. And Rust Vote is seemingly trying now to fire everybody to every extent possible, to simply totally gut the federal workforce. He is a Ku Klux Klan terrorist, Rust Vote. He is a dangerous human being, like Stephen Miller. And related to Rust Vote, I think, and the sabotage that I recognize, a projection that we hear often, that has a, besides being a shocking boundary violation, in a violent kind of sense, like a scary, terrorizing sense, it's also so bizarre. It's so bizarre. There are two related ones. One is to say that people on the left hate the country, that people who critique things about the government hate the country and should leave. Like, if my car had just been keyed and I was like, oh, I want to take care of that, I should get that fixed, and somebody said, oh, you don't love your car. Like, oh no, actually, I want to make sure that doesn't get worse, or I just like to fix that. And people who want change don't love their country, or projecting onto people that you don't really know at all, that people as a mass hate the country. It's very strange. It's very strange, and it's helpful to extricate yourself from like trying to argue against it, because it's just batshit. But connected to that, the projection, said again and again and again, that is so outlandish that people say, oh, that's the way he doesn't mean it, or he's just blowing off steam, or like, well, they do. I think some people buy it as a, yeah, they really do. But what does he say? And what does Stephen Miller say? They project that the left wants to destroy the country. They use constructions like that quite a lot. That crazy left lunatics want to destroy the country. That's a big swing. That's a big swing. Like all of the cloaking of white supremacist patriarchal terrorism and giving of counterterrorism jobs to neo-Nazis at the same time. It's a massive projection to say that the left is trying to destroy America is simply a confession from Donald Trump. It is simply a confession from Rust Vote. It is a basic blood, ink confession penned by the teeth of Stephen Miller. When they say that the left wants to destroy the world, they are projecting. When they say that the left wants violence, they are projecting. When they say that the left wants to kill them all, they are projecting. The left wants justice for everyone. The left didn't attack Charlie Kirk. The left petitioned for him not to be heralded, petitioned for him not to be included in spaces because of his horrific Ku Klux Klan Nazi thinking and ideas and shocking boundary violations meant to terrorize and to coax violent lynch mobs. He was a normalizer of white supremacist patriarchal terrorism and a devil's advocate in a level that, and on subjects that makes one want to say, you know, the devil already has an advocate. The projection, the frequent projection, think of how crazy it is, and think I would be surprised if you can remember some sort of frequency around this claim that the left wants the claim that the left wants to destroy the country, when what we see is education gutted, entitlements that are mandatory spending that we pay into that are actually our funds and our money. Gutted, stolen. Human beings literally sacrificed to billionaires. We see climate satellites that are our ears and eyes destroyed so that other people can privatize that space, so that we don't have common knowledge about weather, so that we don't have evidence from the body cam that should be watching our heavenly body, because there is a criminal predator who says, like Charlie Kirk would say, that rape isn't real or racism isn't real. A person driving climate change to catastrophic levels is saying it's a hoax. This is terrorism, and this is psychological torture. That is betrayal trauma. That's the kids saying, hey, I think there's a gas leak, and this pasta tastes like pee. It tastes like pee. I don't want any. Like, no, you need to, like, we're experiencing betrayal trauma. We are experiencing betrayal trauma. And what happens in the Stanford Prison experiment or the Milgram experiment is that people learn to and relish, some people at least, fall into wanting to get along, or fall into like, oh, I get a chance for some righteous anger or whatever it is. But in the Milgram experiment, some people really get into shocking somebody and hearing that they're getting hurt, and like this idea of, well, I'm following orders and I'm, teaching them a lesson and this is my job, and horrific behavior because someone is saying, well, this is the way we need to do this and this is the right thing, and they're supposed to be there. They made a mistake. That's why they're in the prison, or whatever the rubric is. But think of what the mind does when you see someone be incredibly violent to people and you've been told that, well, actually, they have the law on their side and you can't stop them. Like, you can ask for a warrant, and think of the horrific violence, like the kind of way people are treating who ICE are abducting, the kinds of ways people are tackled and pinned and murdered and mistreated People are being mistreated to catastrophic proportions. As far as we know, a third, 2/3 of the people at Alcatraz are dead because Stephen Miller had them murdered, or in a prison somewhere, or in a country, or in sex slavery. We don't know, because Stephen Miller wants us to experience the torture of him rupturing due process and habeas corpus for people, and then just parking on it and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to change anything about that. And actually, the Supreme Court decided 9-0 in our favor. And just going on about his business because he has essentially the control of the armed forces and police. Using power to escalate shocking boundary violations meant to terrorize, to foster greater possibility of massive violence and civil war, to foster reasons for violent crackdowns, which he will rebrand as heroic battles. We are in extreme danger because we don't recognize. We're not in a horror movie. We're not in a reality TV show, but we are in a TV reality. And we are responding to the sculpting. Who tells us not to be woke? Someone who doesn't want us to be able to defend ourselves. Unless you trust someone who says, oh, hey, you go to sleep, you'll be fine, I'll watch the windows to see if somebody comes. We all deserve people. We all deserve people that we trust. But when you ask for the watch, that's a promise that you're up to it. And that means, in terms of character and morally, that you are up to doing the job. And the job is not to be the best salesman for you while you're here and the best grifter for you while you're here. It's really not. We have to recognize the sabotage going on as sabotage. We have to recognize it is asymmetrical warfare happening now. People being lynched, horrific new precedents every week across the country. And venom, violence again and again, that ICE delivers to people, so violent, and the horrific screams of children and families and onlookers, so awful, that to some extent the brain wants to go like, oh, they must have done something, or this is isolated, or it just wasn't so bad, or like our brain wants to sane wash it. But this is just it's almost stupid to argue anything about how much it's like Nazi Germany because it fucking is. It just is how they operated then and now. And when you have a table of 9 people and a Nazi like Stephen Miller sits down at the table and no one leaves or gets up and protest, you have an Oval Office with 10 Nazis. It's not a cosmetic thing or the work's going to look different this year for a year or two and then we'll be back to normal. We're in existential danger. We have to recognize now. The kind of bad faith actor and the depravity of his bad faith. We have to realize it now, because he is the falsehood. We cannot see his true identity. Even if we remember his name, we cannot see his true identity. It's not impossible, but a lot of us are having trouble seeing the falsehood's true identity. Largely because the falsehood does coerce us to believe lies.
I made a speech. I looked out. The field it looked like 1.5 million people. They showed a field where there were practically nobody standing there.
The new White House press secretary, Sean Spicer, gave his first press briefing. He was also highly critical of some media organisations of the way he felt they had misrepresented the number of people who'd attended Friday's inauguration ceremony.
No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
It does not excuse, and you did not answer the question.
I did answer your question.
No, you did not. You did not answer the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office on day one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
This was the largest ever.
You are in an abusive relationship. Shocking boundary violations are one common grooming tactic of a narcissist or dark triad personality. If someone in your life points into a camera knowing you'll be looking at the view screen and pulls their finger like a trigger, looking into your eyes, saying,
I could shoot someone in the street and not lose anyone. It is a good indicator of a bad situation. You are in an abusive relationship. Who has leveraged and climbed upon a fog of falsehood? Who has donned the falsehood? Who is the falsehood?
Sets the fear of separation. Six, the fear of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The falsehood will tell you facts aren't factual actually. The falsehood will tell you intuition's faulty. The false
how many days we've well since lost track of how many days since Stephen Miller started stealing people and throwing them alien from inalienable rights. He is a menace to public safety. He is a menace to humanity, normalizing terrorism while claiming he is its repair. He projects what he creates. Vance Bolter is the face of MAGA. Right-wing extremist, ammo-sexual predator, we are the reality distortion fielding. We are often shocked by shocking boundary violations, but we can learn to be resilient. And if we recognize we're dealing with bad faith actors, we will not be as surprised. We won't get into the don't they realize territory because it is their intent or to their pleasure that people are hurt. It's not about not liking them. It's about recognizing their capacity and their intent. And the capacity and intent of Stephen Miller is murder. Mass murder, aided by hokum, lies, and hoax, the promulgated fiction distortion with premeditation and layers of performed alternate reality and claimed alternate reality.
Warning at rallies recently that this election is rigged and that Hillary Clinton is in the process of trying to steal it from you. Your running mate, Governor Pence, pledged on Sunday that he and you, his words, will absolutely accept the result of this election. Today, your daughter Ivanka said the same thing. I want to ask you here on the stage tonight, do you make the same commitment that you will absolutely, sir, that you will absolutely accept the result of this election?
I will look at it at the time. I'm not looking at anything now. I'll look at it at the time. What I've seen is so bad. First of all, the media is so dishonest and so corrupt, and the pile-on is so amazing. The New York Times actually wrote an article about it that they don't even care. It's so dishonest, and they've poisoned the minds of the voters. But unfortunately for them, I think the voters are seeing through it. I think they're going to see through it. We'll find out on November 8th, but I think they're going to see through it.
But, sir, there's
if you look, excuse me, Chris, if you look at your voter rolls, you will see millions of people that are registered to vote, millions, this isn't coming from me, this is coming from Pew Report and other places, millions of people that are registered to vote that shouldn't be registered to vote. So let me just give you one other thing. So I talk about the corrupt media, I talk about the millions of people. Tell you one other thing. She shouldn't be allowed to run. She's guilty of a very, very serious crime. She should not be allowed to run. And just in that respect, I say it's rigged, because she should never, Chris, she should never have been allowed to run for the presidency based on what she did with emails and so many other things.
But, sir, there is a tradition in this country. In fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well, this country, in fact, one of the prides of this country is the peaceful transition of power, and that no matter how hard fought a campaign is, that at the end of the campaign, that the loser concedes to the winner, not saying that you're necessarily going to be the loser or the winner, but that the loser concedes to the winner and that the country comes together in part for the good of the country. Are you saying you're not prepared now to commit to that principle?
What I'm saying is that I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
Well,
It is time for loyal Americans to come together to stop ethnic cleansing, to stop Russ votes' sabotage of America, to stop Project 2025, because we are the reality distortion fielding and able to sense the falsehood. Look out For Darvo, Scoop Troop, keep on the lookout for denial attack to reverse victim and offender. Darvo. And of course, remember that you are the brain. You are what brain's elation makes. You are what brain's creation breaks into being. You are unique and glorious and special. A message to you from the truth. A message to you from humanity's new youth. A message to you that it's all of us become as one. Radio, science, brain, particle, matter, wave. Particle, matter, now open. This is the kindness came to play in case. Imagination aid may be named nature in time and space. Here we are. And another here we are. Let's attempt to connect connection. Let's assure connection. Let's see. There we are. And excellent. Because it's not only the sharing of news-related analysis, it is radio science brain. It is the spectrum of art. And so, in just a moment, there is more. Yes. Yes, it is. It is font. It is mystery font. In fact. Six the feet of separation. 6 degrees of separation. 6 the feet of Kevin Bacon. 6 the feet of separation. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic. Prepared people can plan and plan quick. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He meant to draw iceberg Titanic. He didn't mean to cause a panic, yet 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. The Nazis lost in World War II as Allied radar read their crew. And what we knew was probably due. The great American wall builder said, I know what to do. I can use you. Just let it through. He didn't mean to cause a panic. He didn't mean to cause a panic yet. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. 6 the feet of separation. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. To guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian to guard a tree and leave a stump. I don't perceive a guardian. You guard a tree and leave a stump. That's not what I call guardian. You embody actual Trump. You're a real card, your father's son. You're a real card, your father's suit. You're a real card, your father's loot. It's not the thing you swear upon. It's what your heart wants. It's what your heart wants. It's what your heart will not abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's what your heart won't abandon. It's how your word becomes action. It's that your word's an honest one. How long must you menace us? Do you doubt the new Colossus? You're a real card. You're a real card. You're a real card. 6 the feet of separation. 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 M does want to sick the feet of separation upon us. He is already doing this. And destroying satellites is not just vandalism against human knowledge and our brain trust. It is part of sabotage by Stephen Miller, Russ Vought, Donald Trump, and Peter Thiel. And we can do something about it. We can recognize that the political violence that is the largest portion of reality is stuff like this monstrous actor. That is attacker who chose to act rather than someone playing a role. He seems to be, sadly, the real deal. And 4 people were shot, 2 of them died. And the President of the United States called it a waste of time to reach out to the governor of Minnesota. That's pretty much seditious as well. Like the vandalism of our ears and eyes that tell us whether or not, or to what level, we are increasing or bettering our planet. Our escalating situation regarding climate change. that stewardship means we need to pay attention, we need to be looking. Feeling comfortable taking off reading glasses to know that I'm visibly seen not through a slightly smudged glass is different than if I need to read something on your face. Because we need the satellite Trump is trying to destroy, has ordered NASA to let crash into the ocean years ahead of schedule, because he wants to take the body cam off. He wants to take the smoke detector away. We're supposed to have a smoke detector. We're supposed to have a carbon monoxide or radon monitor of some kind. We're supposed to make sure that our house isn't full of lead chippy paint, lead paint chips. We're supposed to watch out. And this is waste and fraud. Just like someone claiming they're coming in to do work to stop waste and fraud, who comes in and takes the opportunity to commit massive fraud and waste. This too is waste and fraud. The insanity of destroying satellites, our eyes and ears, are part of our body. We can't see what's been done if we're taking away data that most of Trump's cronies don't at least understand how to read, if not believe in. Destruction of evidence is incredibly serious. In part, it is a confession. Destruction of evidence is like asking for a pardon ahead of time. Destruction of evidence, premeditation to destroy what would record evidence. This is mens rea to do horrific damage. He may not have much capacity for self-reflection or to consider whether or not he's the person for a task. But in any case, he shows interest to disregard science. Do you remember when he said, if we stop testing, we won't have any cases? Donald Trump said, if we stop testing right now, we'll have very few cases, if any. Hi, I'm a climate change satellite. Like, I'm taking in data with special hardware and software and ability to be able to relay information. I'm part of your body. I am sensory ability your body has created. is saying he's okay kneeling on our neck, and he doesn't need to hear our voice to know whether or not we can breathe. It is sabotage. It is sabotage of life. It is sabotage of human achievement and life. There's no excuse for it. If we stop testing, we won't have any more cases. If we stop testing for climate change, it will go away. He threatened us with this during COVID, that he would disregard science. He threatened our lives, and he killed 1.2 million people with the help of M. Trump killed 1.2 million people during COVID with the help of M. The murderer. Stephen Miller. Don't be M. We can trace the flood of shit, most of it, in practice, to M, to Stephen Miller. And it is well past time for us to arrest Stephen Miller, who gave us kids in cages and now has given us that multifold. It is havoc. He is a worshiper of Adolf Hitler. It is time to remove this treacherous Confederate occupation. Don't shit the bed of democracy. Don't be M. Don't be M. That really is a truly crazy note. That bell rings again. The bell of, if we stop testing, we'll have very few cases, if any, during COVID. Sounding much the same as the destruction of evidence, of the ability to record and know evidence. We should do a Freedom of Information Act request from the future, for the future. That climate satellite has our evidence, and we need to protect it. We need to protect it. We need to protect NASA. We need to protect every part of our body. We need to protect NASA. We need to protect science. Look at the disgusting havoc of Project 2025. These rancid rapists and the projection. Imagine that the rapists actually say that they're the protectors. Projection, because you will not protect women from yourselves. Male rapists, you will not protect women from yourselves. You are not a protector. You're the sperm who says he gets in. but you see the egg chooses the sperm. Boy. MAGA are simply rapists and rapist supporters and apologists. Simply a lynch mob. Encouraged and enabled to be predators and to be evil. It's evil to laud a Nazi. It's evil to make a national holiday for a Nazi like Charlie Kirk. Lynch mobbers doing obvious race and hate baiting are not good people. Period. Charlie Kirk was a lynch mobbing white male supremacist terrorist. Period. His life speaks for itself. And while the left, including people of color, guarded his life and petitioned and protested but did not harm him, it seems quite clear that a Nazi, maybe a Groyper, but someone who grew up in MAGA culture, killed him. It's true that sometimes lynch mobbers find the lynch mob turns on them or says, you didn't hurt enough people. You're not calling for this violence clearly enough. You are not what we need. But the left simply tried to admonish people of his intentions and showed up to work to get something happening in the faux debates that Charlie Kirk would try to fish in a barrel his way through. And the goals of debate and the goals of fostering free speech, fostering political dialogue, those are good goals, but those weren't Charlie Kirk's goals. Those were his disguises. Those were parts of his disguise. And continuing to be seduced by parts of the disguise once you recognize it's a disguise means you either like the role that he's playing or you're unwilling to examine the falsehood. Even if you're hearing tones and sounds and reports that say, this is not safe. All of the walls will crumble. All of the hope will shatter. All of the life will go. We're potentially looking at a crisis like that, in part, specifically, because of things like sabotaging climate change data. These are shocking boundary violations meant to physically harm us and to have longer lasting impact because of how they mentally harm us and thus physically harm us further. Affecting memory, affecting cognitive function. We are being terrorized. It is the intent to break us down. It is incredibly important to protect reality and to have a bead on where there is masking, to be safe if you are, say, in a community with MAGA around. If you work with people who wear MAGA hats. If you are MAGA but thinking that you're endangering yourself as you start to reflect upon what it actually is. We need to be careful now because we are dealing with Nazis in the White House. And with Palantir sowing havoc and terrorism, coercive control from a ridiculous buffoon and terrorist. Peter Thiel is a terrorist. These are terrorists. If someone were waving around a weapon saying, I'm going to control what you all think, and I'm going to control, and I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, but and behind the scenes, I'm going to make everything what I want it to be, and you're never going to know, but I'm going to have all of your possessions and data, and I can snap like that and find where you are and change the price on beef for you forevermore. And we'd say, you sound crazy. But if we had any inkling that you were able to actually absorb and coalesce data in some way, that you would be able to control and spy on people, or that you were stealing our data to be able to do that, we would put you behind bars. So, either we have submitted, or we stop the lynch mob no matter how big it is. Because no matter how big it is, bigot is. And big it is. So we take down bigot is to bigot was, and bigot is apologizing and going to therapy or jail. Because we get better and better at preventing people who are having meltdowns against executive function from being Kyle Rittenhouse's or Timothy McVeigh's. Stephen Miller is projecting. Stephen Miller is projecting. When he says that somebody else is an invasion, he's projecting the actual invasion out into the world, onto the left, onto a boogeyman. And best to assign the boogeyman into a territory where there's nothing, where there's no one doing such things, or it's entirely isolated, like the horrific crime of Laken Riley's murder. An isolated incident that Stephen Miller uses to try to alter the fact that per capita it is white men and citizens that commit far more crime per capita, as in per 100 people, there will be more violent crime amongst citizens, amongst white citizens, that immigrants and undocumented workers who are paying taxes and not getting benefits are better Americans than most citizens on this very point, which is why Stephen Miller chooses to assault it. Because to assail reality and commit a terrible lie that seems to say there is inferiority or twistedness or evil, baselessly, simply for the point of demonizing, it is a shocking boundary violation. And whether or not we have the numbers in our head to say, wait, that can't be real, we instinctually know it's well beyond the pale and, in fact, terrorism. In fact, racist, lynch mobbing, scapegoating, Nazi shit talk. That's how genocide opens. That is Stephen Miller. You don't show up at the baby shower or at the child's third birthday, say, and talk about how they're voluptuous and wonderful and they're really sexy like their mom. And what are you talking about? This is a toddler. What do you mean? Well, I'm just saying. Hey, I'm not saying it. Come on. What do you mean? I'm not. No, that's horrific. Come on. Maybe you should leave. Like, why would you say our 3-year-old is sexy? Hey, I can say that. Why? I wasn't really saying that, but hey, I could say that. We have a pattern with Trump claiming high ground that other people are liars, projection. That other people are terrible, projection. That other people don't know much, and he's smart, projection. That people want to destroy the country, projection. That somebody else was sending rapists, projection. That somebody was using the legal system as warfare, projection. That there was fraud coming from a political candidate other than himself, projections. That other people are afraid of handling the truth, projection. That other people hate America, projection. Because you don't treat a population of people, let alone your own country, with sabotage and webs of Nazi poison wool hokum. You don't destroy the administrative capacity of bipartisan across years and decades. You don't demonize baselessly when you can make things better. If there are problems, make things better. But what they have done and what they are doing is criminal, seditious, treasonous, deadly, wartime sabotage. That is where we are. It's sabotage. It is nothing less than sabotage by Musk and now Vote. These are Nazi patriarchal terrorists. And we need to recognize them as bad faith actors. We need to stop them. It's not going to be good enough to slap them on the hands for all of the cut old growth forests. It's not going to be worth or helpful to slap them on the hands for the millions of people we're going to let them murder, when we could actually just stop them. This baby Hitler is just about the right age to just peacefully throttle him to the fucking ground with substantially less animosity than Stephen Miller has ICE KKK agents show decent Americans that he is having them tackle to the ground, trying to groom us to see them as less than human. We are dealing with terrorist patriots. There we go. Yes, it went. A microphone went. Well, again, we lost a little bit of sound. But I was just talking about Russ Vogt and how we need to recognize the sabotage that is happening and stop it, because we can't rescue old growth forests that we let people cut down. We can't treat things and people and spaces and parts of reality with love that we fail to treat with love such that they are sustained. We are the reality distortion fielding. We are well smart enough to recognize wartime sabotage, which is happening now. Destroying satellites is like stopping testing for COVID. Totally fucking insane. And a statement of mens rea to let it spread. To let the disease spread. To let climate change just expand and deepen. Imagine calling cancer a hoax. Are we not just about there? Is it really coincidental? To choose an ally like cancer, that the Ku Klux Klancer would choose an ally like cancer? They have chosen to ally themselves with cancer. They are pro-cancer. They are pro-child cancer. That's who MAGA is. They are pro-child cancer because they're pro-Ku Klux Klancer. They are pro-Ku Klux Klan cancer. MAGA is pro-Ku Klux Klan cancer. They are pro-Nazi cancer of the mind. They are pro-child sexual assault. They are following someone who calls himself chosen by God, who is trying to raise the age of consent all the way down to 14, because he'll have fewer underage sexual assault victims then. Who knows how many fewer? I suspect most of his victims are under 14, already safe. But maybe by the time he runs in 2028, if we don't stop him soon, maybe by that time there will be more escalation on the other fronts. We're dealing with intent, premeditated intent to alter perceived reality of a nation and to destroy history, and intent of incredible discrimination. Stephen Miller claims he is fighting discrimination while targeting people of color, targeting people who are disabled, who are neurodivergent, who encounter poverty for any number of reasons, people who are unhoused, people who are of the global majority, women, people who are not like Stephen Miller in ways that he wants to have happen for us. And he is erasing them. It's not a joke or a near miss to illegalize the use of words that name and describe people and phenomena and situations. The censorship that they have been doing since the election, since taking power, is totalitarian reality rupture, and it is havoc. We have to stop it. We cannot take this continuing on. We can't take continuing this way. We're allowing havoc. We need to recognize that the only way we could have ever trusted him, Donald Trump, is to be able to train him. No, mic off. You said horseface again. Try again. Actually, leave the room. We're going to close the door and you just self-regulate, Mr. Trump. We'll give you one more try. Okay? You'll come in and you'll say, I'm here with this argument for my point, and it is this. Without grunting at or threatening or trying to pull off balance or insulting anyone or anything that you're referring to. You will simply refer to the thing you're referring to and make your technical opinion known, just like everyone else is doing. We're all doing the basic tiny amount that people are supposed to do who aren't terrible or incompetent. So be neither terrible nor incompetent and just say how you would like this issue to be decided, just like everyone else is doing. And if you can't, we'll shut off the mic again. And that seems absurd, to try to hold him to not insult somebody 14 times in a tweet or threaten someone or perform some kind of defiling boundary violation on them in front of other people. we would find it shocking to think that we could and that's the entire point. We submitted and said, oh no, it's fine. That is submission. We are in an abusive relationship. We have submitted, and that includes our mind. It starts with our mind. We have submitted to Nazis. We have submitted to the idea that there's something wrong with examining whether the election was stolen. Why would that be a problem? Why would examining whether it's been stolen a problem? Because we can't get him to stop saying horseface? Then we should never have ever let him near the White House as a visitor or anything ever again after January 6th, period. And now we know the gravity of why he needs to be removed immediately. I call for the arrest of the MAGA regime, the arrest and immediate incarceration pending trial. They're going after critics of the regime. They're going for total rupture of habeas corpus, the most elemental of basic independence and freedom fostering rights. They are Nazis. Arrest Stephen Miller for sowing racist, bigoted violence and normalizing lynch mobs. They are Nazis. They are Nazis. They are Nazis. So the point is, what do we do about it? The whole point is, what do we do about it? We must get better at noticing the projections and regarding them as such, and reverse engineering what they may in fact be about. Because one of the projections they have said over and over again, one of the shocking boundary violation statements meant to flummox us, that they have repeated, is that leftists want to destroy the country, that critics of the regime want to destroy the country. That is a terrifying projection. That is the projection of a death cult. That is the projection of people who believe in the rapture, which is not part of the Bible, by the way. That is the projection of people who believe in end times and don't care if they live or die because of delusion. And they act nothing like Christ. They cannot back up the words of someone they claim to love and know so well. They claim to know and love Charlie Kirk, but when his bigoted lynch mobbing, let me just pick under the scab of where your grandma was a slave and say, but maybe you were dumb. His lynch mobbing, racist, rancid cancer is fact and truth that MAGA can't handle, so they can't celebrate or support him. Not without a big glaze of lies on top of his lynch mob to obscure the face of his hate. Likewise, MAGA is unable to support and celebrate the actual words of Christ. That's a very strange sandwich. Claiming these heroes that for alternate reasons they cannot actually celebrate the most poignant and meaningful to them statements or words attributed to them that define them are the ones they will not support or avow of either Christ or Charlie Kirk. They won't support the Nazi they say they support, and they won't support Christ, who they say they support. Super interesting and sad. Sad. And so I think it's a point of not continuing to enable. Rather than enabling, we need to find ways to offer help to people who can climb out of the death cult. People demoralized and abused by traitors, treating them like garbage, with little tiny, shiny little baubles of little promise of we're not coming for you, or whatever. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to admit you've been hoodwinked. It's not an easy thing at all. He makes people show fealty by swallowing an impossible Eucharist and an irredeemable Eucharist, an impossible shape that can't happen, an impossible lie that can't be real, and impossibly irredeemable evil behavior. And yet then to somehow still be cleansed and sanctified by people still being there because they're afraid to say no. And so he climbs and transcends, and now he's conquered, and he can do anything. Oh, he can even do that. But anybody doing that would, but he could do that. He just wasn't. It just goes on and on and on. It's been multiple months since Stephen Miller started using ICE, the Ku Klux Klan, using Nazis to kidnap people off the street. He is torturing them. He is mistreating them to torture everyone and groom and terrorize us that we must accept dehumanization. That is insane. That is abuse. That is illegal. That is anti-human. It is anti-Christ. It is anti-American. It is anti-empathy. It is anti-kindness. It is anti-neighborhood. It is anti-Christ evil. They have no leg to stand on. It is all projection. So people who we know are being kidnapped illegally, without due process, and then tortured, families separated, children asked questions about their parents, and then one of their parents is sent off forever, and the children think for the rest of their lives that they had their father killed. These are situations manufactured by Stephen Miller to create massive, murdersome havoc. We are watching someone shoot people in the concentration camp and laughing. That's what he's doing. In broad daylight, he is kidnapping people. In broad daylight, he is pushing families and children into cells with shit on the floor. In broad daylight, he is having ICE rape women, sterilize them without their consent, and fucking eat their children. You want to talk about projection? You want to talk about what's fucking happening? Eating the pets? What is that a projection of? The Haitian community in Ohio is reputed to be kind. In fact, those were Nazi projections by J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. So what were those projections of? What dark criminal dungeons did J.D. Vance and Trump and Stephen Miller have in mind doing Nazi scapegoating against Haitians in America who were here legally? Just what the fuck are these Kyles Rittenhouse projecting? They are Nazis! You, Stephen Miller, are a Nazi! You lie. You say there is a sickness and a depravity. You project your sick, depraved hate. You, Goebbels gobbler. You, Nazi. Stephen Miller, the one known as M. You are the murderer. M. I hope that was clear enough. This is how I woke up. This is how we woke up. This is how I woke up. I just woke up like this. You just woke up like this. We woke up like this. We can all woke up like this. From all brains to all brains, imagination clangs, imagination bangs, like the kingdom ring, rang. Imagination angles, imagination wrangles. This is the kindness clang and its batarang. Let's do this. Yes. This is the mindless mint. This is the comparable hint. This is comparable. This is now shareable. I am the access point. I'm in. Amazing aim, I'm in. Amazing aim, I'm in. The flow is flint. Come at the naissance. Amazing science became mind-aid. Yesterday, liminal aid made from brain gray array on a say particle matter wave can raise the voice play made and makes today radio science brain imagination aid freshly squeezed from the source as play. Yes, again, this is the minus bends where it wends. Courageous aim contains play. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. Radio science brain, the mind is made, the mind is made, this mind aid. Became today, play, not prey to predator today. I play, you be play, imagination may be game. I play, you be play, not prey or predator today. I play, you be play, pretend the minus is up to date, or check the time and state. Check the nameplate, recommended update. Now I wait. Became. Pretend that love is sane. Pretend that love is sane. Radio science brain. Be wave, we wax again. The game, mind blame for me. Blame me for free. Blame me for freedom. Blame me for kindness come. Pretend that kindness came, pretend that came can come, pretend that come just came for everyone. This is the mountain, the fountain, bountiful blossom, bountiful blossom, bonded without bondage. We band together, now we're pleasure. Be game, not prey, be play. Be game, not prey, be play. Maybe game today. If you knew you like you know you now, you would not allow this to open around. So dispel from your knowledge, from wherever in time you have mind. The truth can find you out. The truth can find out before out finds you. Became today and see love through. Became today, pretend that kindness came and played to stay. Remain how kindness came in case imagination aim needs time and space. This is the time and place. Maybe it is today. Begin the engine you built. Began its whiling, its will. No drip spilled, no drops spilt. Build without guilt. Build the will, the guild bliss, might will fill, be filled, be now, not nil, be willful of mild. That's one pass through radio science brain. It is different every time. Let's say, is in obvious ways, hopefully, improvised, and in obvious ways, hopefully, not. Or at least not now. That is, there was a recording part, and the part that I was doing contained improvisation, different than the part that I did before, some of which was made utilizing large preponderance of improvisation. There are things you'll hear repeated across a performance or across many. Most of the time, you'll hear radio science brain repeated. Most of the time, you'll hear pretend that love is sane. Most of the time you'll hear you are the radiation. You are the radiation. You are the radiation of love's imagination. You are the renovation of this whole occupation. Those are common things that come back in variations or something. That's not all. And then sometimes none of those things show up. It goes off in different directions that are all explorations around a field of ideas about potential, and more over the last 10 years, the things that get in the way and claim to be about saving the day and claim that others want to destroy freedoms and destroy a country while doing that damage themselves. So again, I say, let's do everything possible and then some, to save from destruction our eyes and ears and our technology and our joy. Keep our satellites online or replace them, and for the common good and in the common trust, the commons. We are the reality distortion fielding, and we recognize destruction of evidence. We recognize sabotage of technology that can save and improve and sustain life. we are the reality distortion fielding, and so we just woke up like this.